Good morning. So I think we'll start with the quote. So can we start, sir? Yesterday I hope you could able to understand some of the part of that we have discussed. So this is very important, especially from the educator's point of view, because this is Darwin's theory, right? So it says that it is not the strongest species that survives, but the ones who are responsive to change that will survive, and that is the need of the hour. You might be knowing that NEP is in line, and we need to change as per the needs of the or as per the needs of the students, right? So this is a very important thing as far as the educators are concerned. This is not working, sir. Is it working? This is wrong. किती होते हैं? कितने में होते हैं? बताओ एक काम कर रहे हैं। सर निकाले का सरांना भेज दिलो डॉक्यूमेंट। Zulfi sir, I have given one document to yesterday's faculty, so I have sent a mail. Just I need to check. So if you can do a printout of that, it will be helpful for us. It is Yashpal. I have sent it to Yashpal Adkure. No. I have sent one more document which is related to the checklist of course outcomes. Right? If you could take some printouts for the participants, I think that will be fine. So that we can have an exercise in this session. Okay, I think we'll continue with what we are discussing yesterday. We are discussing about the course outcomes. We had a discussion about this and then we concluded. So this particular PO is CO is called as a bad CO. Why it is called as a bad CO? Because students will be able to do research. So what to understand by research? Because the research has so many components, and what type of questions will come in the mind of learner as well as teacher are this one, right? So whether doing a research does mean that you need to identify the problem, or review the literature, or to establish the hypothesis, or to collect the data, analyze the data, to recommend further scope for research. So all these elements are part of research. So whenever you are defining some CO as do a research, does it mean that you have to do so many things? And is it possible to do so many things with a single CO? Because we are defining 6, 7 COs or 8 COs for a single course. So if you define a CO like this, so it will be it will not be a closed loop, it will be open loop, and we could not able to understand what to teach and what to learn. And we need to avoid such vague words whenever we are talking about CO, right? Okay. So the guidelines for writing COs. So these are very important things whenever you are start writing the COs. You start with action work, and that is followed by the object of the work, followed by a phrase that gives the context. So if you see this particular thing, here I am saying that at the end of the field survey, the student will be able to write, right? So write is a key action work that I am using. A report on the status of the problem in IEEE format using LaTeX. So this is one of the CO that I have defined when I am teaching some course related to research methodology. The most important thing over here is you have to use only one action work per CO. Why it is required? Can anybody comment? Why it is single action work? Why it is not 2, 3, 4, 5? What is the logic behind that? Yes, sir.
Initially, the candidate student should understand it.
Yeah.
In the knowledge of the
Yeah, the logic behind it is, if you have two COs, one is, say, you are saying that analyze, and you are saying apply. Both COs you are using. So what will happen? So how will you do the evaluation of it? So if you are having two action words, so how to do the evaluation of it? So that will be the question, that, because your COs are also connected with the assessment. So CO, definition of CO does not mean that only you are defining the things. You also need to connect it with the assessment, because you need to attain, because you need to evaluate the COs that you are defining. That's why using two words may confuse the learner as well as teacher, right? So keep those things in mind. Then avoid the vague words, because like know, understand, these are the most commonly used words whenever I see the people are forming the COs. But understand, how will you measure understand? Right, so that is one of the major questions that may arise. Then learn. So if you are using that, the student will be able to learn. So how will you define learn? So that is a question that will learn. Right. So basically your CO should be unambiguous and simple statements. Okay. So your checklist starts from here. So these are the 7 elements which you need to check when you are forming a CO or framing a CO. I have sent a document. The document is containing the same thing, and by using this particular checklist, you can check whatever the COs you have. You can check whether these are correct or not, or if you are framing the COs and after doing a draft of it, you can check with the help of this checklist. Right. So what this checklist says, that you are using only one action verb in each CO. If two, then one has to be cognitive domain and other has to be affective or psychomotor domain. As yesterday we have discussed, there are 3 domains. One is cognitive. What is cognitive?
gaining the knowledge.
It is for knowledge. Second is
Affective.
affective. It is for
Feeling.
attitude or feeling. Third is psychomotor. So whenever you are using two action verbs in CO, you can use it, but the condition is that one should be cognitive, one should be psychomotor. One should be cognitive, one should be affective. Two COs, the two action words of same domain should not be used. Right? Again, the problem will be of measurement or evaluation. It should be simple, without ambiguity and vagueness. CO must be realistic and achievable within the time span, because you know that I have 3 months of time, 4 months of time in attaining a particular CO. So this thing is very, very important. So you should not insist student that you have to attain a CO which may take 1 year or so in attaining that. In case of project, you can have a CO. If you have a 1 year project in your curriculum, you can define a CO which you can able to attain in 1 year, right? C4, that is checklist number 4. The ability spelled through CO must be quantifiable and measurable. So this is very much required, because we have to do the assessment of it. If you want to do the assessment of it, it should be quantifiable, right? So it is not the qualitative terms, it is a quantification. Okay? Quantification needs to be done for that particular CO. So whatever the CO or whatever the things that you are checking, that should be measurable. The assessment tool for evaluating the attainment of CO must be mentioned explicitly. If, as far as possible, you should also contain the assessment tool in that. At least one CO in the list of COs of course must be valued in professional practice and is important from the employer point of view. So this thing is very, very important. You are framing 6-7 COs. One CO, at least one CO should focus on this, because nowadays whenever you are teaching some course, we need to understand that how you can connect it with the employer, because the final thing that the student has to do after getting graduated from your institute is employment, right? And for employment, at least one CO can be dedicated. And COs must be listed in the sequence of taxonomical levels. It is generally a standard practice. Your CO1 will be a lowest Bloom's level and CO6 will be the highest Bloom's level, right? So that is how. Still there is confusion. Even in engineering also people are having confusion. There are two terms used. You have how many units you have in a single course? 4. 4 to 6, right? And there are two terms which is commonly used. One is called as a topic level outcomes, TLOs. Another is a course outcomes. So whenever I am saying course outcomes, it is at the level of course. And when I am saying TLOs, it is for each topic that you are going to learn. So there is always a confusion with these particular terms. In engineering also, I have done the audit of so many engineering colleges, and people start writing the COs topic wise. So COs are meant for the levels, the Bloom's levels or the other levels. So here, whenever you are saying course outcomes, it is at the course level. Your single CO may address 3 or 4 topics, right? So that is very important. This is still a thing which is debatable in most of the engineering colleges, and people do not understand that it is a course outcomes. Like PO are program outcomes. So you cannot define, for example, you cannot have course for PO1, a single course for PO2, PO3, PO4, right? So a single course may have 2-3 POs, right? So likewise, CO also works in the same way, where one CO may have addressed through 3 or 4 topics that you are learning. Okay, so this is how the checklist is created. So I have given the same printout to your faculty, in which whenever you are forming the COs, you start with this checklist. And wherever you will find your CO is having, for example, I have a CO1, I need to check the action work, whether it has a single action work or 2 action work. So I will say just I will tick mark. I will tick mark in the domain in which I am framing that particular CO. First one is a knowledge, right? So whether it is addressing that knowledge, right? So likewise I will do that. Whether it is a psychomotor related or affective related, that I will do. Then I have provided you with 7 checks, right? So these checks will be C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. So whether it is containing the assessment tools, means whether your CO will also give you the idea about the assessment to be used, so you can just tick mark there. And then whether it is mapping with PO, so you can tick mark there, right? In continuation with that, if it is important for professional or employer, you can tick mark with that. And C6 and C7. So modify COs if any of the checks above is not tick mark, right? So this is very important. अगर आपके इसमें when you start tick marking and if you feel that so these all the checks are not covered, all the checks, in that case you need to redefine the COs, right? So this is a very easy process for checking your COs. Each course outcomes you can check with this particular process, and if you feel that all the checks are done, so you can say that the COs that you have formulated are correct. If you feel that out of these only 1 or 2 checks are possible, so in that case you need to reframe in a way that, so you know that with checklist that if it is having a checklist with say C6 is not attaining, so there is no single check in a C6 column, so in that case you can say that so I need to address one of the CO which will have a concentration on C6. And if not, what you have to do is, you need to take also care that it should not hamper the other checklist. So again you need to do the iterations unless all the checks will be there, right? Okay. As soon as we will get the printouts, we can do that exercise. Okay? Yes? Okay. So can you distribute? So others also it is required, right? So okay, so these are some sample COs, right? So if you go through this, you will find that it starts with explain, apply, analyze, design and debug, right? So these are different levels that has been attained by using this particular course outcomes. And this also shows what are the different types of assessment that you can do, what are the questions that will be framed by using the COs that you have formulated. right? So you also need to take care that the assessment. The first part is the designing of COs. At the same time, you also need to take care that the assessment part of it. How will you do the assessment for that particular COs? Right. So these are some questions which are formulated based on the course outcomes that I have formulated for the Ohm's law. Okay. So this is about the formulation. You can do this exercise because I hope you have brought the course outcomes of your course. The next is strength of mapping. So this is the main topic name that we have to discuss, but we need some basics of it. That's why I have covered the basics. Okay, whenever I am saying the mapping strength, there are again people use different options, different alternatives for doing that. So either it is mapped at level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6. So people use various types of levels when you want to map your CO with PO, you want to map your CO with PSO, right? The most common is the level expected level 3, where when you have a low level of mapping, what do you understand by mapping? Can you clear me? What is mapping? A simple concept. What is mapping? Why we need to do the mapping? Okay. See, if you see the curriculum structure, you have different courses. In BSc, how many courses you study? Courses. And what will be the number of courses total? Around 30, right? So what is our objective is, we have 30 courses. Out of that, it may be 20 core. Around 20 will be core. Through that core courses, are you attaining your PO? Because you have defined say 10 POs, right? And out of 10 POs, these 20 courses are sufficient to address those POs or not. And how many POs are covered with the course that you are going to teach? What you have to do is, you have 20 courses. With the help of 20 courses, you have say 5 course outcomes in each course. Total is 100. So this 100 course outcomes should address the program outcomes. And what is the strength of that? Means how much is the content of your PO related content in your course. So that will be done with the help of mapping, right? So generally we use the strength 1, 2, 3. In engineering it is very common to use 1, 2, 3. If you want, you can use others as well. You can go for 4, 5, 6. When I say low, means it is having a low mapping with a PO, means the strength is less. If it is a medium, means it is a 2, and it is high, then it is 3. Okay, the strength of mapping, expected level can be 3 or 4. Rubric assessment is done. Do you have idea about rubrics? No? Okay. I think it needs a separate session. I will not go into that. Rubrics, for example, in short I will tell you, when you do the assessment for your lab courses, for example, if the student, do you have a course C programming, you may have, right? So if I want to do, so you may have 10 experiments in that, or how many? 80. Okay, so how will you do the assessment of that? How you do? For example, student write all experiments, 8 experiments. He does some lab work in the labs. He writes the programs that you have given, and then you have to do the assessment of it. How will you do the assessment? Okay, logic is correct. Okay, but this you are doing qualitatively, right? So this is a judgmental based, right? If the Pawar sir is doing it and if the Jadhav sir is doing it, it is as per the Pawar sir's logic or Jadhav sir's logic. If the Jadhav sir is very good teacher and he is very lenient teacher and very give the more marks, so in his lab he will give more marks. And if the Jadhav sir is there who is very strict teacher and his judgment is also very strict, in that case he will give less marks. So how will you quantify that? And this happens in most of the colleges, where the teacher who is very strict and does not give the marks so easily, so the student say conjuse, right? So in that case, So, and there are some teachers who gives the marks like anything, right? So, we need some quantification of it, that will be done by rubrics, right? So, rubrics has a clear-cut idea where it will, whether the teacher is a Pawar sir or Jadhav sir, the marks will be defined based on the what is the level that has been attained by the student, right? So, it is a I will not go into details of it, but you can study. You can go to Google and see what is rubrics, and based on that you can understand, right? Okay, these are some sample COs. COs can be formulated at two levels. One is for the course level and one for the labs. In some institutes, what they do. If there are 6, out of that 4 will be for theory and 2 will be for labs. In some institutes, they define it separately. There will be 4 for lab, 4 for theory. So depending on, it is not a scientific way to say that you have to do it in the same way. So it is based on the how much attainment you have to do, right? So if you define it separately for theory and separately for practical, in that case you need to do that much of attainment. That is the case. If you are doing it same, means you have 6 COs, out of that 4 will be for lab, 4 for theory and 2 for lab. So that is also fine. Yes, sir.
In our case, lab course and theory courses are different.
Okay, but do you define it separately? Course.
For lab course, we do not define any. It's by the university syllabus.
Oh.
It is not given in the university syllabus.
Oh, so that is a really concern, because see, most of the COs will be attained through lab courses, right? And you need to work on that. So just check. I think battery is running out. So just there is a battery, so you can just use the charger. Okay, labs and theory both are the important parts of curriculum. So you need to define the course outcomes also for the labs. So you need to understand, I told you 3 domains. One is cognitive, another is affective, and one is psychomotor. So how will you do the psychomotor related things in theory? Can you do?
Project is clear. Projects.
But that is a single course. Can you attain all the things with the help of single course? It is not. So every course, for example, the cognitive related part is covered in theory, but the psychometer and the attitude part is covered in practicals. So I think you need to redefine those things, and you need to also inform your authorities, the university authorities, regarding that. If they don't know, if they know, you can just cross check it whether it is there or not. Yes.
So far as our course content is considered,
Yeah.
there is a course content of communication skills.
Okay.
So I have gone through some of these COs in
Yeah.
here. They are not according to standard that you have mentioned here.
That is what I told you, that you will find 60-70% of the COs are not defined in this one. 60 to 70%. It is a regular practice that they take it from some other university, and we are not sure that whether that other university is having that standard or not. The only concern in education is that we never challenge the things, which is very important. What we do कि चलो राजर्षि शाहू is very standard college, so उन्होंने जो CO बनाएंगे, these are very correct. So that is how we work mostly. And see, everywhere the persons are working irrespective of the level of institute. So you need to challenge it, right? So challenge will be based on the procedure. That's why I am more focusing on the process, right? So it is very easy for me कि चलो एक samples दिखाओ and then show कि ऐसे बनाते हैं. But unless you follow the process, you will not be correct. And the process will give you a strength to challenge the things. Even you can challenge the committee members of NAAC, stating that this is the process that we have followed. Why NAAC is insisting for process is because of that. So you can convince the NAAC peer team that these are the things which we are following, and you just tell us that is it wrong, right? And we also need to understand that whenever we are designing something, we also need to keep in mind the outcome. We should not design only your NAAC is giving say 45 marks because you are defining it. Ultimate goal of doing this is to attain it, right? So I will not go into more details of labs. You can. So it has to be formulated first. And likewise, we need to do it for project. We need to do it for seminar. So seminar also, and I will also suggest you to go through the rubrics. For seminar also, you have to define the rubrics. For project also, you have to define the rubrics, and based on that, you do the assessment of the students. It will help you, right? So try. You will get some good rubrics on net. Customize it as per your requirements, and then you can formulate it. Because again, the rubrics preparation of rubrics is again a separate session, right? Because it is a bigger one, and that is also logically you can do that, and there is a process of framing your rubrics. So that is also another area where we can work it. But for project and seminars, you should have rubrics. For labs, you should have rubrics, right? And what is there in project is that we are having different steps in projects and different, and so if you are doing the projects very much seriously, the students, right, and faculty as well, so that will be easy for attaining the program outcomes, right? Nowadays even students are purchasing the projects, right? So that I could able to heard somewhere in the university. So if the students will not do that on their own, they could not able to achieve the program outcomes. So that is very sure. And there are some COs pertaining to seminars. In the same way, we are doing it for project. Okay, so if you see the taxonomy for cognitive domain, so this will be having different dimensions, cognitive processes and knowledge categories. Yesterday we have discussed about this, the cognitive processes. This is going into micro details, so I will not go into macro details. So at engineering we do this, right? So we are not at this. So this is the macro details of cognitive, and again these are divided into these four, right? Like factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. So it will be a heavy dose for you. So today we will not go into this. We will skip this particular part. Attainment of COs. Okay. Now why we need to do the attainment? Because we are doing the designing of CO for this. We are not doing the CO framing because university is saying or your NAAC peer team is saying or NAAC is saying, right? So how the process goes is you define the course outcomes, right? Those are assessed as per the assessment pattern. So you may have the mid-sem exams, you may have quiz, you may have some presentations, you may have some sort of the assignments or like that. So you use the assessment patterns, and based on that the assessment instruments are defined. And then based on that you need to determine your students' CO attainment. And whenever you do the CO attainment, you also need to see the gaps, because you decide some target, because you decide that my student should reach to this particular level, and when you have done the measurement and you see that you have reached to this level, so this particular is a gap, right? So this is defined over here. That is a CO attainment gap that leads to plan for closing the CO gaps or enhancement of the CO targets. So if you have fulfilled the gaps, you can go to next level. If the gap is not fulfilled, you have to do something so that the gap will be filled. For example, the communication skill. So if you define some CO that all my students should be able to present in front of public, right? So, speaking, right? So speaking related things. So And after taking the review and after taking the evaluation, you have a 60 students class, and you have seen that out of 60 only 4 could able to speak, and rest are not. And out of those 4 also, those do not have a good eye contact, right? So they may not able to speak in the language that you have defined. I am not saying bar of the language. It is if it is a Marathi, you need to speak in Marathi, right? And I could able to find out that the fluency was not good and those things. That does mean you have not attended. So where we have, so that is a gap. So how will you fulfill that gap? Right? So that is the question. So you need to plan for that. If you are teaching a course on Python programming and you are expecting that the student should be able to write the program at a particular level, and if the student could not able to write, so there is a gap. So how will you fulfill that gap? So based on that, you need to improve upon your teaching methods. That is what is required, because NBA or NAAC says about the continuous improvement. Right? Every time there should be a delta increment in the teaching learning process. If you feel that all the students could able to do that, in that case you can say that the targets has been achieved, and whatever the things we are doing that you can continue to do. That is fine. But if it is not attained, and in most of the cases it is not attained, right? So in that case you need to improve upon your that particular methodology. So these are some assessment items we use. Yesterday also I have a discussion about that. These are some assessment instruments we can use so these are the collection of assessment items. Different types of test items are used. Like in the written test, you have the selection type, where the responses are consists of making choices from the alternatives, like MCQs. So MCQs are the selection type. Supply type, the response consists of giving a short or long answer, because you have both the types of things in your exam. Either it will be MCQs type or maybe a short or long answer. And then there are some tests which are performance type of tests. Okay, so true, false, multiple choice, multiple selection, matching blocks, rearrangement. So all these are the type of selection type. Then supply type, like fill in the blanks, sketch, label, short answer, structured response, viva, all these things will fall in the supply chain. And performance type, you have experimentation, simulations, projects, seminars, field studies. So you need to understand these assessment tools, which to use, because you need to select at the start of your course. I have so many options available. Out of that, what should be used? So that is your. Okay, so how to decide the target? So this is the main question that you need to decide. So these are quantified at certain levels. So here I am using example of 3. So in level 3, I say that my class average should be greater than 70%. At level 2, I say that my class average should be greater than 50% and equal to or less than 70%. Right? So I have defined a range in which if the student your class average falls in this, you can say the level 2 has been achieved. And if my class average is below or equal to 50, in that case I say level 1. Right? So class average means the mean of the total marks that the student have attained. If it is a credit, you can convert the credits into marks and you can do that. Right? So depending upon that. So this is generally the process to do that. So, but why class average? Again, that is a debatable question. Why it is class average? Because it will cover everything. So if you are doing the class average, because it may possible that you have 2 classes. In one class you have very bright student, in another class you have a slow learners. So average will take care of it. If you have, if you wish to take a particular number, so in that case the students who are slow learners, that will get damaged. Right? So class average will define, it will, you might be knowing about the normal distribution. So class average will take care of normal distribution. Right? That's why generally class average. In number of places university average is also taken, but most of the times it is very difficult to get. So it is the most simple to take that. So if you are getting the information about what is the university average, so that is also fine. So it is not the mandatory that you need to take only institute average or the class average. Okay, so targets are same for all COs and are set in terms of performance levels of different groups of students. And while this method classifies the students into different categories, it does not provide any specific clues to plans for improvement in the quality of teaching. Right? So this method is most commonly used, but the lacuna with this method is that so it does not provide specific clues about how we can do the improvement. Right? Okay, there is another case in which you can define different targets for different COs. Right? So how you can do that? Now why I need to define different targets for different COs? Again, it is a question, because deciding the same target for our COs is the most easy thing. Then why I need to define it separately? Yeah, as I have told you in the initial at the initial stages only, that your COs are starting with the lower level of Bloom's taxonomy to the higher level of Bloom's taxonomy. CO number 1 is the easiest CO to attain, whereas CO number 6 is most of the times difficult to attain. So in that case, if you keep the same target for all, in that case it will be difficult for students to get the attainment. So there are methods where you can define it separately.
One common motion is there.
Yeah.
Because we are having BSc Computer Science, BSc Software Engineering and BCA.
Yeah.
And most of the program having similar courses.
Yeah.
For example, programming, C programming is there. C++ programming is there.
Yes.
Java programming,
Yes.
Python.
Yes.
All these programming languages may have a similar COs.
Yes.
But how to differentiate so far as its applications are concerned? How you can say about this?
Okay. So for example, if you are having C programming in say computer science and engineering, it's what you can compare is with the type of employment the student should get, right? Because IT sector is a specialized branch, computer science is a mother branch, right? Computer science is the mother of all, right? And whereas IT and software engineering, those are the courses like that are not mother branch. So they have been developed, though we have made it same, they have been developed with the intention that if the students want to enter into the IT field, the IT has been entered into the field. You might be knowing when the IT has started, when people are the IT revolution has been started. At that time, this particular branch is started. Why this branch is started? A specialized sector has been evolved as IT, and the students who are willing to go into the IT field, they can take up this branch. A computer science is a mother branch which can address all the things, whereas IT has to attain a particular thing. So if you are using the C programming in computer science, it will have a different purpose than in IT, right? So whatever the programming language you study in IT may have a different purpose as compared to what you study in the computer science and engineering. And along with that, again I will tell you, so here I always assume that the course teacher is the owner of deciding this particular methodology. Course teacher or the course coordinator. I don't know what terminology you use. There are two terminologies used. One is called as a course teacher, another is called as a course coordinator. So if the same course is taught by 4 or 5 people, so there is one person who is a course coordinator who is coordinating the activities of all course teachers. Because it is expected that if the same course is taught across various divisions, so your assessment tools and all those things will match. Otherwise, what will happen? If you are using different assessment tools and the other course teacher is using different assessment tools, attainment will be difficult, right? For the same course. So, if same course is taught across various divisions, you should have single course coordinator, and you need to define your assessment tools and everything through course coordinator. A senior teacher may be a course coordinator. If you are having 4 teachers who are teaching that particular course, a single course coordinator will be there who will define the plans. Otherwise, attainment will be a difficult. there are so many interesting things about the next part is actually the exam part. So we are not covering that today, but at the same time I am talking about design, but implementation part is also important, right? If I have some question papers, I will show you how we do it at our institute, if even the time permits. Okay, so this is separately, right? Each CO is having different target. Targets are set for each. So here you will find it is more detailed, right? Again, I have made the ranges 1, 2, 3, 4, and again I have 6. So I have a matrix of 4 by 6, right? So so many things. And here I can make it more simpler, where I can decide the target for each CO, that the class average for CO1 should be more than 70 or 70 like that, for CO2 80 like that. So attainment of COs can be measured directly or indirectly. A direct attainment of COs can be determined from the performance of the students in the all relevant assessment instruments that we have discussed, right? So these are the instruments that you can use for checking whether you have attained it or not. Indirect attainment is done by the course exit survey. I don't know whether you are doing it or not. So there is a term called as a course exit survey. Two types of attainment are done. One is a direct, where you do it through assessment tools. There is indirect way also through course exit survey. At the end of your course, you do a survey and you just understand whether the students have attained it or not. Student will write it on the scale of 1 to 5, that how much I could able to attain, or maybe 1 to 3, depending upon the scale that you are using. So this is one way, and another way is through direct, right? So everybody has to use these two tools, right? One is exit survey and one is this. The exit survey form should permit the receiving the feedback from the student on all COs. Computation of indirect attainment of COs is based on the perception. As it is based on the perception, the amount of or the weightage given to this is less, right? As I have told, direct and indirect, and perception is always based on biasing. So if a student don't like a particular teacher, you will get less grade in that. So that's why it is said that you give less weightage to that. You may have 10%, 20% weightage to your course and survey, whereas most of the weightage will be given to the direct attainment. So direct attainment of COs is determined from performance in two exams. One is continuous internal evaluation through test and those things, and you have end semester examination, right? So again, direct attainment divided into two. One is continuous internal and another is a end semester exam. The proportional of weightages again changes, right? For example, people say that internal evaluation should have less weightage as compared to the university examinations, right? So this is considerable variations in these regulations, and the proportion may change. In some places you have 20, 80 to 50. So if you have more weightage to, for example, if you have 100 marks total and only 20 marks are allocated for internal evaluation, use 20, 30. If 30 marks are allocated, in percentage I am saying, marks may vary, say 30, 70. So depending upon how much weightage you have given for your internal evaluation, continuous internal evaluation, you can decide the proportions, right? So this is very much required while doing that. So you have to do these things very rigorously, right? Because if you fail here, you will fail in the entire attainment. So direct attainment of CO is determined from the performance of the students in all assessment items related to the particular CO. Every assessment item needs to be tagged with the relevant CO. So you need to tag which CO, if I am writing some question, so in that case I need to tag it with the relevant CO, whether this particular question is addressing that CO, right? I will show you the question paper. Also we need data about the performance of the student, assessment item wise. Okay, if possible I will do it now. In the meantime, it will find it out. The problem that we will find is in the continuous, there is no problem in the continuous internal evaluation because tier 1, tier 2 institutes are doing on their own, right? Whether you are autonomous or non-autonomous, you have to do at your institute. Okay, thus both tier 1 and tier 2 institutes have access to the question wise marks because whenever you are doing attainment, question wise marks are required. So when questions are tagged with relevant COs, the department has access to performance of all students with respect to each CO. Hence, the computing the direct attainment of COs of CIE is straightforward in both tier 1, tier 2. What about the NCEP? This is fine with internal because in internal you get the question mark marks. How will you do it for NSEM? Because NSEM you don't have access to question wise marks. It may possible that you are somebody else is setting the paper and somebody else is assessing it, and what you get is the result. And how much is the weightage given to final exam NSEM?
25, 75.
So 75 is the final, na? So out of 75, you may be getting a total marks, right? Out of 100, you are getting the total. How you are getting the results from university? Out of 100? Okay, right? So the question of attainment comes there because your 25 marks you might be sending to the university. They are doing the assessment for 75. They are combining the marks and you are getting the results, correct? And in that case, the question will be how I can do the attainment question wise or how I can do the attainment for each CO. So that will be the question. It is fine with autonomous because we get the question wise marks, right? So in semester examination, it is not problem with the tier 1, but the departments in tier 1 institutes have access to the question papers, so we don't have a problem. So when the questions are tagged with the relevant COs, the department has access to the performance of the students with respect to each CO. Right, so hence computing the direct attainment is easy. But what about the end semester exam which is done in tier 2? In this, the departments are getting only the access to the marks scored, total marks scored and not the question marks. So departments in tier 2 institutes have no means of computing the direct attainment of individual COs. But the performance you cannot ignore because it is carrying a weightage of 75. So here the solution that we have is you have to treat the average marks. What you have to do? If you have 5 COs and if out of say 100 the student have attained 80, so you can do the average of it. So the out of 80 every CO has been attained with 16, like that, right? Here you don't have option because the university may not give access. That's why the government is more focusing on the autonomous institutes so that the attainment will be easy in future. But now as you don't have access to the question papers, answer sheets, so in that case this is the best method used by all the institutes who are in tier 2. Okay, so this is sample of tier 2 institute where I have taken 3 assessments. One is assignment, one is test 1 and one is test 2. So this has been defined by A1, T1 and T2. And for each assessment I have used a score. For example, for assessment 1 I have used 5 as a score, means out of 5 marks I have taken assignment 1. For test 1 I have allocated the marks as 10 and for test 2 I have allocated the marks as 10. And each CO wise I have been distributed that particular thing. For example, test 1 will have a CO2 of 2 marks, CO3 of 1 mark, CO4 of 2 marks. Similar to that, the test 1 has a CO1 of 4 marks, CO2 3 marks, CO3 3 marks. So likewise, I have done the assessment plan. So this you have to do, right? So when you are teaching any course, you have to do this assessment plan. So that now what I am taking care of is I am trying to address each and every CO with the help of assessment plan that I have been formulated, right? Any problem, any query in this? Because understanding of this is very important. Okay, now I have done the assessment and I got the average, right? So these are the class averages I got after doing the assessment. So I have say 60 students and I have tried to find out the average of each class. And when I have done it for the assignment, I could able to find out that for CO2, the students could able to score 1.5 out of 2 when they have done the for CO3 the student could able to score 0.7 as an average out of 1. Here it is 1.7 out of 2. So likewise I have done it for everything, right? So I have used 3 assessment tools. Do you have any question? Yeah.
Most cases we conduct unit test based on the syllabus we taught. Sometimes what happens, if we complete unit 1, so unit 1 may address only one CO.
So that is what I was telling in the start. Your CO should not be unit wise. Your CO should address the course. Your CO should not. So that concept what you are talking is called as a TO level. That is topic level outcomes. So it is a different concept. Topic level outcomes are different and the CO is different. That is why the designing process is very critical for them. But in that case you need to increase the assessment tools. For example, if you see that you have 6 units in your or 6 topics in your curriculum, so you need to define first 2 will be having this and this much of CO should be added. So likewise, right? So you need to take care of that. So you need to increase the number of assessment tools in that case, right? So I am just telling you at the macro level. Micro level again it is difficult, right? Even framing the question paper itself is a different session. Setting up the question paper is a different session, right? So if I will get the time, I will show you. Okay, but could you able to understand this? Yeah. So based on that, I have defined the averages, and then I have rounded the scores to means I have sum it up, and I have done the average for all the continuous internal evaluations that I have done. Okay. Okay. So this is a competition of attainment for tier 2 in this. So you can see that this is for SI. So this has been come from this 58, 73, 76 is come from this, and then in end semester exam. So what I have done, I have distributed it equally, as I have told you that we don't have access to the question papers, we don't have access to the marks. So in that case, it is easy for you because the most of the work has been done by university. You need not to do any work. You have to do only average of it. Whatever the marks has been attained by all the students, you have to do the average of it. And when I have done the average of it, I have assumed that everything, and I have seen that 63% has been achieved by each average of that particular class. And then I have decided to have a direct attainment. So it may be the case of your university only, where 25% of the weightage I have given to the internal evaluation, 75% weightage I have given to the end semester examination, right? So in that case, this is given a weightage of 25% and this is given a weightage of 75%. And once you are done with that, the average comes out to be 61.75% for CO1, CO2 like that. Understood how these calculations are done? Okay, then I have done the survey because I have done the direct attainment through CIE and end semester exams, and then I need to also see that direct and indirect. So for indirect I have done the survey. I have asked the students, could you able to write the program if I have one CO as like that. So if the student says yes, I have marked it as yes. So there I am not again rechecking. whether students are really able to do that. That I have already checked it direct. In indirect, I am just asking the student, okay, could you able to write a program? When he says yes, I will say tick, like that. Based on that I have done. Generally you will find in indirect you will get more marks or more weightage or more score as compared to the direct. And what I have done, because indirect is maybe a biased process, so in that case I have allocated less weightage to that. So indirect CO attainment 0.1 and direct CO attainment 0.9. And when I have done the totaling of that, I could able to get 63. 67, 67, 68, 63, 67, right? Okay, so based on the whatever I got, and I have decided a target. So initially I have decided a target that for CO1 I need to attain 60. How much I got? 63. So I got more than what I have decided. For CO2 I have decided a target of 75. I could able to attain 67. So there is a gap of 8. Right? So likewise I have calculated the gaps for each course. And what is my, so if you see the notes, if the gap is greater than 0, the target has not been attained. So you need some improvements so that the attainment may increase next time. If the gap is less than equal to 0, target has been attained or exceeded, the target may be enhanced next time. Right? So these two actions you have to do. If you are in first, that is for gap, the gap is greater than 0, so you have to improve upon that target attainment. And if the gap is less than 0, in that case you need to improve upon the target, not the attainment. Right? So if you see this particular case, in this case CO1 is attained to the greater level, because we have decided that students should get 60, but they have got 63, so they got more. So in that case, next time whenever you define the CO1 as a target, you have to improve the target. Instead of 60, you can say next time student should go to 65. Understand? Instead of 60, I will say next time the student should achieve 65 or 63, whatever may be the case. In next case 75, as I am expecting that the student should achieve 75, but they could able to achieve 67, so I need to find out why 8 gap is there, and I need to work for that 8, so that next time at least the student should able to attain 75. I will not change the target, I will keep it 75, and I will ensure that next time at least the student should able to attain 75. Okay, so how we can do that? So the same thing what I have expressed, that I have decided that in first case I will increase the target to 65 because I have attained it. In next case I could able to know that, so this is the electronic subject, I don't know how many of you can understand. I have decided that there is a gap of 8, and when I have done the analysis, I could able to understand that the students could not be able to answer this in the assessments I have done. So I will say that explain in detail the need of micro modeling or models of BGT. Right? So likewise, in CO4 you can see that work out 5 more examples of amplifier and regulator design, so that you can able to attain it. So I have done the analysis and I could able to know that students are lagging in this particular type of question. So based on that I need to decide next time I need to improve on that. So likewise you have to go with this, and this is called as a closure of quality loop, right, which is most important for any accreditation agency. Because if you just do the analysis there is a gap, so that is an open loop system. But if you want to close that gap, you need to improve upon that, you need to decide the action plan. And you might be knowing in NAAC everywhere people are talking about corrective action. The same thing has been done here. Okay, so action plans need to be specified. Indicate if the additional resources are required. So in that case you need to give the proposal to your management or institute if you need some additional resources to fill that particular gap. So those may be in the form of physical resources or learning resources to implement the improvement plans. Indicate if any changes in the lesson plan is required. If it is done and then you can able to attend that, that is fine. avoid the vague statements, that is motivate the students or work hard. So most of the times whenever corrective actions are taken, we say that कि आपको मैनेजमेंट में बोला कि रिजल्ट इम्प्रूव करना है एंड व्हाट एक्शंस यू आर टेकन, वी से दैट वी हैव मोटिवेटेड द स्टूडेंट्स. So motivated the student do not have any quantification, right? Most of the times the corrective actions are written like that. We have motivated, right? So when the results are down, we say that we have motivated, and with your motivation, I am very much sure that they may not get the results. So you need to quantify it. Whatever the actions plans you are taking, you need to quantify it. So if possible, have the action plans reviewed by the peers. So give it to your friend or give it to your colleague who is dealing with some other course, and ask him, can I attend as a third person? Right? Okay, how to increase the target levels? So you can use like this. Initially the target level 3 was, class average was 70, I have increased to 75. And others also have increased in the same fashion. Okay, so these are takeaways for the session. Okay. So this is about this. So do we have time? Because how much time we have? 10 minutes. Okay. Because our important thing, that is the mapping, has been left. Okay. Once you have done the attainment of COs, next thing is you have to do the attainment of POs. Right? So I will not go up to attainment of POs, but I will go up to mapping. Right? Okay. So this is the best picture I could able to find, which says that whether you have attained your PO or not. Right? So most of you might be knowing there is a company called as IKEA. IKEA is the biggest furniture manufacturing company in the world, who is famous for the customized furnitures. Mass customization is done at the IKEA. So when the interview is taken by the person who is sitting on a chair, so he says that make a chair and take a seat. So this is the interview of one of the company who is manufacturing furniture. Right? So this is the level that we need to attain when you are talking about the students. Right? So just teaching theoretically may not help the student to attain this. So for example, in this I have given the cognitive knowledge, saying that so how to assemble a chair. That is the session I have. So how to assemble, I know that there are 4-5 nuts or bolts that I have, and how to do, I will say that rotate it clockwise for 10 rotations, and after 10 rotations it will get fit. So if I will give the knowledge to the students in that way, and if that works, that is fine, but it will not work. So you need a psychomotor skills in that. So based on that the interview is taken. Okay, so POs and PSOs are addressed to core courses, projects, seminars, internships, and co-curricular and extracurricular. So these are the various things through which you can able to attain the PSOs or POs. This is very, very important, because elective courses do not attain any PO. Elective courses are important courses, but these are not taken into consideration when you are going to do the attainment of POs. Okay, why not electives? So that may be a question to you. Why it is not electives? I have answered it actually here. Why not electives? Because see, why it is not? Because for any activity to be considered for computing the attainment of POs, all the students of the program are required to participate. What is happening with electives? Out of say 60, 20 are taking one elective, 20 are taking another, and 20 are taking third elective. So how will you do the attainment for that particular program? So that will be the question. That's why electives are not. It is not the case that electives are not important, but the attainment will be difficult, because elective 1 may be a different, elective 2 may be different, elective 3 may be. That's why attainment is done only through the core course. For activities to be included for computing the attainment, the related student performance should be measurable. So electives play an important role in providing the depth and contribute to the attainment of POs and PSOs. However, they are not considered for computing the attainment of POs and PSOs, as all the students may not crediting them. So, right, because all the students are not taking electives of the same type, right? So that's why we do not consider them. Okay, so how the attainment is done? Again, there is a quality loop. Okay, so you attain it through different courses, projects, and if there is a gap, you need to plan for the closing the gap or enhancement of the target. It works in the same way. In course outcomes also we do it the same way. If it is not attained, you need to fill that gap, and if it is attained, you need to revise the target. Same way the POs and PSOs work. Okay, so here the again the levels may be 1 to 3. The strength of PO, CO, PO and PSO mapping. Attainment of POs, PSOs depends on both attainment levels associated with COs and strength to which it is mapped. Right? So strength of mapping is defined by 3 levels. Again, when I am defining it for CO and PO mapping, I use 3 levels. You can use 5 as well, but it is very difficult to differentiate between level 2, level 3 if your levels are 5, right? Because you need to decide some border somewhere. If the levels are 3, you can define it in a well way. Otherwise, it is difficult to define if you have more levels. So several methods can be worked to determine the strength of PO PSO, but implementing them across a few hundred courses can be a burden. So again, how to do that? Because the mapping is most important thing. If you are correct with mapping, then only your PO attainment will be correct. If you are again fail in doing proper mapping, your attainment fails. So simple method is to relate the level of mapping to a PO with the number of hours devoted to the CO which address that PO. So the simple method is how much number of hours you are devoting to that particular PO through the CO. That is the simplest method, but it needs some calculations. What it says, if 40% or more than classroom sessions or tutorial lab hours address a particular PO, it is considered that the PO is addressed at a level 3. Understand? 40%, right? If your content of your course are such that 40% of the contents are related to the particular PO, so in that case you can say you have attained the level 3 or address the level 3 or not attained. If 25% to the 40% of the classroom sessions or lab hours address a particular PO, it is considered that the PO is addressed at the level 2. And if it is between 5 to 25 of the classroom sessions addresses a particular PO, it is considered that the PO is addressed to the level 1. And if it is less than that, it is not addressed. So these are 4 levels through which you can say that the PO has been addressed. Okay, so this is I have done for one of the thing. So this is one course for which I have defined the 6 COs, and this particular is saying which are the POs that has been addressed or PSOs, POs and PSOs, right? Program outcomes and PSOs. When I go through this, you will find that PO1 and PO10 is addressed and PSO1 is addressed. So these are the knowledge categories that I am using. So I am not going into details of it now. And I am using classroom sessions 3 for the addressing the CO number 1. Likewise for CO2 I am addressing PO1, PO10 and PSO1. So this is the 9, right? So I am using 9. And here I am also using 4 lab sessions. For CO3 I am using 4 class sessions and 4 lab sessions, right? And here even the cognitive level I am defining. The cognitive level over here is understand, and this is the apply level, right? And this is how I am defining the different classroom sessions. So how many sessions you have for lectures, total lectures? 45, right? So this particular thing 45 you have to define each COS, right? And also you need to see that that CO is addressing which PO. So likewise you have to make a table, and also similar to that you have to do it for the lab also. I don't know whether you are addressing that or not. So likewise I have total 40 theory sessions. If there is no lab session, like for any course, you can skip that. If you have lab sessions also, you can add that. So 40 lectures, 28 lab sessions. And I have defined that for each CO how many lab sessions are required, and I have also defined that which PO is addressed to that. Okay, so when I have done the calculations, I have seen that PO1 is addressed through CO number 1, CO number 3. And how many lab sessions I am using? 11. PO number 2 is addressed only through CO2. How many lab sessions I am using? 30. PO3 is addressed through 3 COs. How many lab sessions I am using? 44. So likewise I have done it. For PSO1 you can see that it is addressing all the COs. Right? And the total number of sessions will be 68. 40 and 20. So it is 60. So likewise I have done the quantification. And based on that I have decided the mapping strength. Could you able to understand this? How I have decided? I have shown you the different categories. If the mapping strength is between 5 to 25, so I say it is 1. So because I am using 11 number of sessions out of 68 for PO number 1, so it accounts to around 16%. So the mapping strength is 1. For PO2 I am using 13 lab sessions, or total 13 plus, so your theory plus lab sessions, so it accounts to 19%, so the level is 1. So in third I am using 44 lab sessions or theory sessions to address PO number 3, so the mapping strength is 3. And the last one, it is 100% PSO, for PSO, it is PSO1, so mapping strength is 3. So this is how I will decide the mapping strength, and I am using like this. So this is called as a PSO mapping or PO or PSO mapping. You can see that for this particular course 302, I am using the mapping strength. For 1 it is 1, 2, 3. 6, 7 is not addressed anywhere, so I am skipping that and making it as 0. For 9 also it is 0. For 10 it is 1. 11, 12 it is 0. PSO1 it is addressed full, so it is 3, and PSO2 is not addressed, so it is 0. This is how I am defining my mapping strength. Okay, but this needs a lot of calculations, right? Every teacher has to do at least once he or she has to do. There is another method which is again evolved with that, which is a very easy method, but this method lost the justification, right? So what this method says, here the teacher decides the mapping strength.
In case of this method, is it robust because like we are having biotechnology programs, BBA also. So is it robust for all the courses?
It is most robust technique.
Okay.
So this technique, what I am now explaining you, second technique, is a judgmental technique. And as the judgment change, the example that I have given, Pawar and Jadhav sir, the same thing happens. Pawar sir feels that the mapping strength is 1, Jadhav sir feels that the mapping strength is 2. Because it is only based on the judgment. The way we do the assessment of question papers, the same way it is done. So whenever a student writes a question, one teacher feels it is 2 marks, one teacher feels it is 3 marks. The same thing happens when it is a judgment. The first method that I have explained you is a robust method, irrespective of the course, irrespective of the teacher that is doing the calculations will be almost matching. But in this method, the calculations may not match because it is a judgmental method. But it is easy method. What I have to do, I have to just write down whether CO1 is mapping with PO1. If it is highest, I will say 3. If it is lowest, it is 1. Or if I am in confusion, I am saying 2. Right? So it is whether it is low or high. So generally 2 is provided for that. Right? So such estimated values can be entered into the system, and this is done like this. So here it is done CO wise based on your judgment, and then the average is calculated, right? For each CO and each PO, based on my judgment, I will decide how much is the strength. So this is very easy method. In single matrix you can do everything, but it will lost the robustness, and it will change with teaching, right? Okay, I think we'll stop here because the next part that is related to the attainment. We'll not go into attainment of it. I am just I will close up to the back, right? And I think so. There is a lot of things. Okay. So the students of today, I just got a cartoon in the morning. I thought we should share it. Right? The students of today are like that. Right? So they feel that you can download the things. You can download the entire college education, but no need to worry about the future. Right? Okay. Thank you very much. I hope you could able to attend at least some level, at least one, through this session. Right? And so you need to practice. Right? You need to practice more because the time there is a limitation of time. Otherwise, you could have done some exercises which is required psychomotor. I am just giving a cognitive approach to you, but psychomotor is missing here. So it needs a workshop type of thing where we can do that, right? But you can try it with that. I have given you the checklist. You try it for your own course, and if you feel that everything is ticked, so you can say that the COs that you have framed or COs that has been framed by the experts in the university are correct. Otherwise, you can challenge it, right? Okay, so thank you very much. So these are the acknowledgements that I have. Acknowledgement for the institute. So R.T. Deshmukh sir, who is a mentor. My friend Vishnu Patil sir, he could not able to join because of some heavy work. So there was one workshop taken by Shaila Subbaraman from WIT Sangli in our institute in 2014, and I have started learning from that workshop. You will see some of the contents are from that particular workshop, right? And she was the graduate from IISc Bangalore, and she has taken 2 days workshop at our institute. So I still remember most of the slides from that workshop. So NBA, there is one course NPTEL. All of you may have an idea that there are MOOC courses. So I have done the 2 MOOC courses which were 12 weeks. 12 weeks, 2 MOOC courses which are only dealing with this, right? And this is a very big actually umbrella. I am only contributing some drops into it because I have did one course which is 12 weeks, 12 weeks. It is 24 weeks course, right? And those contents were very heavy. If we get the time or opportunity in future, we will discuss other things, even rubrics and those things. And I also give my acknowledgements to my institute, Maharashtra Institute of Technology. Okay, so thank you. So this is one thing. I will not cover this. Thank you. So this is my email address. If you want to contact me at any time, you can contact me on this email address. And I think I have not given the phone number. So you can contact me on this. My phone number is Julpe sir. You can take the phone number from me if you require. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for your.
So values mapping of program outputs. We are really happy to listen you. Thank you very much. Now we have 5 minutes, right? Immediately after 5 minutes you should be here for the next session.